Welcome back to Turn Down for What, your source for EV news and updates. Like and subscribe for more content like this episode. Let's dive on in.
We're diving on in. Welcome back to Turn Down for What. Another day. You're on mute, Chris. You ruined the punch.
Oh my God. Reset.
Day.
Another episode.
There we go. All right. Way to launch it live here for that reason. Good job, Chris.
Heck yeah.
Well, we are here today coming off some good news out of the Ford space and some of the different news that has happened in the past couple of days, and wanted to kind of spotlight a couple key features and open up a dialogue if anybody wanted to have a live chat. For the past 2 weeks, we were streaming this episode live on X and Instagram live. If you are on Instagram, and then we immediately posted it on YouTube following, just so that way, if you are live on X and wanted to have a chit chat, chime on in. We're here. So Chris, I will kind of launch it to you and let you kind of lob the first topic up in the air, and we will proceed forward from there.
Yeah, lots of exciting stuff coming out today. We're going to talk about the update on the Ford and Tesla adapter that is now been delivered to all of those that had been requesting the free one. About a year ago, a little bit over a year ago today, we got, for a select few of us, got to charge on a Tesla Supercharger for the first time using an adapter. A friend of the show, Sergio, was with me. And we went down to the South Bay, and with a representative from Ford, got to do our first Tesla Supercharging experience without Magic Dock. So that was super cool and a great moment. And it's been now a year, and all 140,000 adapters have now been shipped out. And so that was really cool to see from the Ford team. We know there was some early supply chain struggles with Tesla. There was some early adapter confusion on whether or not third parties would be allowed, and then they signed that deal with Electron, who had some difficulties themselves early on with adapter sticking and not sticking at all. Again, friend of the show, Brandon Flash, shout out, who discovered that if you yanked on that original Electron early, that it would pop right off the supercharger handle, and that wasn't safe. So. Yeah, it's been a long road. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to show you my adapter collection so we can see the entire evolution of the adapters from literally A to Z, so to speak, and to what we have. You like that?
What you did there.
Chris, good job.
You see what I did there? All the way to the through the Tesla adapter, and then to the newest one. So super cool, as Ford typically is, overly generous to me. They did send out their newest as well, which they had absolutely no obligation to do at all. They sent me the original Tesla one you see there on the right, and the newer one, the Electron partnership, which has the cool Ford logo brand right on the side. Like, that just selfishly looks cool. And it's funny because I was literally looking at Facebook Marketplace because I only wanted it for that cool Ford logo. And then suddenly I get this little note, hey, we got something for you. And so a little group of us got these new adapters that are branded. So that's super cool. Then you open it up and it's got like the Jim Farley note in there, and just super cool from Ford sending these out. You'll see some different posts on Facebook and X yesterday and today of some folks getting these, which is just, again, kudos to them for doing.
A question for me. I received, obviously, one of the original adapters. Did all 140,000 receive that original smaller adapter, and now they're just selling the bigger one? Or was a portion of that was a portion of the 140,000 the larger newer one?
Yeah, so the original sets that went out were all the Tesla ones, and then when they hit their bottleneck snag, I think they did the pivot. Shout out to a previous episode. Maybe throw a link up here somewhere for the previous pivot.
Right, there you go.
Ford's getting good at the pivot. So they did a pivot and went to the partnership with Electron, and they did a good job of adding some extra safety and security features. So if you ever see someone saying that, hey, these are the same adapter as the Electron, no, there is a difference. There's an extra security feature in there that's just kind of go above and beyond and make all the charging a little bit safer. So yeah, then everybody recently has all gotten the Electron partnership Ford adapter, and that's the one that's going to be on sale. So that's on their website now. And then I've already seen some folks reach out and say, hey, I never got my adapter still. It says they delivered all 140,000. I'm still missing mine. So I did reach out to Ford, and they said, hey, give a call to this customer care number. We've got it up on the screen here. I know this will get posted to Spotify and Apple and all that stuff later. So for those folks that don't have the benefit of the screen, it's 844-589-0060. I feel like an old school AM talk show,
Oh, yeah, that's 844-589-0060.
0060. That's the way to do it. Josh, bringing it to the next level, man.
I used to be in customer service. I know how it goes.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. We're going to Betty out in Arkansas. Let's talk charging adapters. That's the good stuff.
We should get to the live segment where we can have phone it in and take callers. That'd be fun.
That would be
the old classic setup.
Yeah, if you could have some kind of link, you could just pop people on, and then you could like boot them off if they get too crazy, and just have people on and off the stage or something, like chiming in from home. That would be fun.
We should consider that at some point.
Fun with flags.
Fun with flags. Yeah. So there's the customer care number up on the screen for those that have not received theirs. I'll kind of walk through my evolution of adapter fun. We'll start with the A to Z. I was really fortunate because I live in the Bay Area. There's a ChargePoint corporate office here, and they have NACS adapters, not a NACS adapter, sorry, NACS chargers, level 3 chargers at their corporate office. So A to Z reached out and sent me their prototype. So this was the very first prototype A to Z before the Tesla one ever came out. You can see this one has, if you look carefully, if my screen will let me, you can actually see the screws. The screws are exposed. So you could literally take this adapter apart, and there's no A to Z branding on it, but this otherwise looks the same as what they did for production. It's got the slide on the bottom, which was the controversial, kind of difficult to use piece. So they kind of, evolved that. But yeah, when it went out to production, it again looked pretty much the same, but you can see that it's got, if I can get the angle right, you can see it's got the A to Z logo stamped on the side. And then as you get up close, the screw holes are covered so that you can't just take a Phillips head screw and open up the guts inside and see what's going on to make the magic happen. So those were the first adapters that I got. And then, of course, the official Tesla adapter, which everybody has seen. And this basically just looks like it does on the Magic Dock. And the controversy here, of course, is that Tesla had a batch that would derate. And so those got recalled, those got replaced. That slowed down the supply chain even more. And then this one here, it's got the button up top, and where A to Z had the slider, this one's got the latch on the bottom. So people would have to kind of tuck it here, do that. Kind of, how do I pull that and pull and yank? Yeah, pull and yank. Never good to be pulling and yanking in public. It's kind of awkward. So
bad comments to be made there, and then you just went ahead and made it. So there you go.
Yeah. I leaned into that.
It wasn't me this time.
I know, it's so rare. So yeah, that was that adapter, which was awesome. It's lighter, it's more compact, but it's each adapter kind of had their little personality quirks, whether it's the slider or this one with some derating or the little clip on the back. So then Electron came out with theirs, and we talked about how theirs would get stuck and get, you have pictures of them just hanging on the supercharger. So everybody was kind of learning as they go, trying to get the supply chain ramped up and getting everything dialed in. Then my favorite adapter came out, which was the A to Z Typhoon Pro. And this thing was just a beast, man. This kind of gave it that form factor that was similar a bit to Electron, but a little bit more compact. But what was super cool about this one is there is no button underneath it. It's got one single button, a single latch. So this one to me is still my favorite adapter. This is the one where if I have to walk away from the truck, I don't leave this adapter in. I use one of my other adapters so that if somebody were to steal it, which has never happened, but I would be heartbroken if this one got stolen. The A to Z is super cool. I love that one. I think it's my favorite one. But yeah, that was the next kind of iteration that I got to test out for them, and it's what they're selling out there now on their website. But the drawback to A to Z is it's not codified. It's not officially approved by either Tesla or Ford or any other manufacturer. Tom Malogny's done a bunch of videos on them. Maki Vlog. I've tested it plenty. I'm super confident. We've talked to the CEO on our show. They do a lot of great engineering. I have no problem recommending it, but I know for some that is an obstacle for them. And then, of course, the latest and greatest is the Ford, and the Ford Electron one again has the extra features. It has the Ford logo on the side. Thick though, man. That is a monster. So you can just see the design aesthetics if you kind of put it up next to the other ones. It's just a little bit more squared off. Not quite as compact, but look, they all do the same dang thing. The only thing that I say is don't buy the one off Amazon. Don't buy the cheap ones that haven't been tested well and aren't.
Which brand was it that Brandon Flash had looked at that like had live hot wires while you were supercharging?
That's
right.
the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, AC and DC together. Yeah, I don't even know the brand. I wouldn't even want to say their brand or give them any kind of, but yeah.
There's like a little plastic flap that covered the level 3. So like if you plugged in a level 2 adapter, like there was a live hot wire exposed and it was just like unsafe. But yeah, I mean the technology there is the need for the adapter is one thing, and then obviously the as things transition over towards the NACS game, the adapter is going to have to be the way, unless you use a Power Up America charging station. Then obviously in that situation you'd be exempt from the need of an adapter. But in this interim period, for a CCS driver, especially Ford and those other ones, I mean I think pretty much they all opened up to the Tesla network now. It really frees and opens up that door for assurance in your travels. And we like for instance, I was using we talked about it just briefly last week, but I was always using the one of the Bucky stops only had Tesla chargers, but they recently installed Alpatronic CCS units, and so now I can go there without an adapter for the same type of value. Nonetheless, having that network available really does open up the door, because there are far less CCS stations in Tennessee than there are NACS, and so that really does open up that side of things. And especially in your area, Chris, I think you've said that you really like to rely on the reliability of the Tesla network compared to some of the other CPOs that you've dealt with locally. And so having the adapter really does open up that door to give you the liberty of commuting and traveling longer distances with more frequency, maybe not complete gap fills, but it definitely helps where you can hit some of those major charging hubs, especially in states like California, where you have Harris Ranch and some of those big ones that are nice, reliable charging stations for you to stop at.
Yeah, we'll touch on that too on the when we get to the Apple CarPlay update, and you can kind of see how great Tesla charging is, how it's just everywhere and fully available, and they have so many stations. And for me, I just got burned by some of the other CPOs, unfortunately, and we don't have Power Up America out here in California yet, so the traveling up and down the West Coast has been a challenge, man. When we get your stuff out here, it'll be a heck of a lot better. But until then, it's a lot of people have had success with EA, but in California, at least, man, I've had far less. I don't here to bash on them, but
overutilized there, where I think more, and that the issue becomes the reliability of the hardware long term. Here we have less utilization, so I think that they're able to keep them up more frequently.
Yeah.
I don't know the science for sure on that, but that just, for me, that is kind of a logical assumption, with utilization being a lot higher in a state like California.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
Good experience where we are, so that's I will say that they have updated, they have fixed. The price is very reasonable, so at least in our area, when we do hit an EA station, we've had good luck with them here lately.
I've had a couple issues over time, but overall it's been a decent stop. But I mean, in our recent travels, I've not used their network, just with some of the other available options. But that's something that obviously is an asset should you need it. But the reliability is a question mark. But I think that they're getting better with some of the newer hardware. It's just they were initial entry onto the scene. They were overutilized and not reliable units, and so you had a lot of downtime, a lot of derating. I've had plenty of issues with that across some of their different sites. But overall, if you've needed a charge, I've been able to figure it out, even if I had to move to a couple different chargers. We went to an EV Go in Nashville, and I had issues with getting connected to the one port. It just was not working properly. I had to move a couple spots over and finally got the system to connect, and it just kept faulting my truck. And it wasn't my truck's fault because when I plugged into the other charger, it worked just fine. So I mean, I think a lot of them have different issues just with the hardware and software and everything else in between. But reliable networks that get utilized a ton, like Tesla, have a lot of charging sessions and a lot of experience with quantity, and so they're able to more adequately manage some of those issues that some of the other CPOs might have.
Yeah, and Tesla's it's the reliability. It's that as long as you're on the version 3, you're going to get your full amps. Some of the EAs are the 150 kilowatts. It can't actually deliver the 150 kilowatts because the pack voltage is low on the Mach-E and the Lightning. So you don't have to worry about, is it up, is it down, is this the 150, is this the 350? I do like a lot what the HIC 400s that Alpatronic does, where it's got the charging curve. Our friends over at ChemPower also have the charging curve. I think when you see that nerd data, it's so much fun. Like, I love watching it. But it's just a matter, in California, of availability and so many EVs being out here that, like you said, they get so much wear and tear and abuse. The EA in San Francisco was really great. It was, when I went and visited that, everything worked fantastically. So I know the hardware can work. I think, like you said, it's the wear and tear. I do have the screen up for the charging adapter that I'll share. This kind of is what people will see when they go to the Ford website now. So this is the partnership adapter with Electron. Again, it's going to look very similar to what Electron has, but it's got the brand on there. And then internally, they've got some extra thing where the pin goes in and all the sensors and everything. There's some improvements there that help just give it a little bit extra on the safety standpoint. There's nothing unsafe with the original Electron or the original Tesla adapter, but there were just a couple extra features that Ford really wanted Electron to add in. So there's a slight difference between this one and the original Electron. If you have Electron, the one that you bought, you're fine, you're safe, there's nothing wrong with it. Same with the original Tesla, as long as it wasn't part of that recall group. And then same, of course, with A to Z. But yeah, to order this, you're just going to go over and you're going to select your vehicle. In my case, I've got the 2022. Ford, of course, is the only option there. And then I do love that you can get the Super Duty adapter.
Super Duty, does that fit? Does that qualify?
Let's see if what happens if I item will not fit
the gas. It won't fit the gas input for that. That's interesting.
Item will not fit the Super Duty. Okay, so we're doing this. Yeah, I love kind of figuring this out. So all right, I guess we'll have to switch it back over. Again, Mach-E, for example. That's gonna look, it goes green. Awesome. So, and it's shipping by March.
I guess you hit F-150. I didn't see the Lightning in there.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Random
Let's go to,
side note.
I was scrolling down a little bit too fast there. We got to go.
It must just be F-150. It's interesting.
Oh, that's hilarious. I'm gonna have to reach out and let them know. Let's see if we
actual, Lightning button. But I mean that's pretty generic. It probably should say Lightning.
Yeah. Ford, if you're watching,
hear it first. They're about to come out with a 2 and 350 EV apparently, so that's good.
Sneak preview to 2027.
For my gas powered hybrid power boost, and then be really upset that it wasn't adequately promoted.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I'll ping them if they're not watching. And Ford, if you're not watching, Jim Farley, I know you're watching. Come on a show. So yeah, that probably should say Lightning in there somewhere just for clarity. That is pretty funny. But
yes, if you're an EV driver, hopefully you would know that the adapter is for Mach-E and Lightning if you're a Ford. Everything else should not be working on that front. Maybe the Transit.
I was just gonna say, do not dare leave out the mighty E-Transit. Let's see if it doesn't say E-Transit. So yep, you just put Ford Transit, it shows up. Maybe that's on purpose, I guess.
Again to the generic full transit line, even though it's recognized in the E-Transit specifically. But yeah, your three vehicles under Ford, that's what should qualify. But also, I guess if you're a generic purchaser, this adapter is going to work for you. If you were driving a Chevy and wanted the Ford
Absolutely.
adapter, you could use this as well if you wanted to. So even though it's not on the list, yeah, you can use whatever you wanted to on that front.
Yeah, and you can see that up here as well, those folks that have the Ford points, you can also redeem your Ford points for the adapter as well. So
I'm interested. I never checked it. Would they notify you if your adapter got recalled?
they would. Yeah. They reached out and they let people know. It's really hard to tell otherwise.
My only grievance with the Tesla network, and it might just be my adapter, was my charge curve was always less, and it derated much quicker than a traditional CCS plug. I was not getting as high power metrics, either with the Tesla cables or the adapter. I don't know what the limiting factor was, but I never got as high of a max speed. One, and two, the curve was always quicker to derate over time because of, I think, whether it was the cable. Their cables were not, I don't think, meant to do a long blast of massive battery charging. But that's something that I never saw the same performance with a Tesla that I did other.
Yeah, I think the one thing about Tesla, when they designed those superchargers, they designed them for that Tesla charging curve. So they're kind of meant to be plugged in a low state of charge, and as the state of charge, grows or gets higher, that charge curve just drops off a cliff. And so it's not meant for those big long draws like the EGMP platforms or even like the Lightning to some extent that hold that charge much longer. They just talked about the recent updates that are going out that hold that charge curve at a higher level and for longer. And so those types of things can result sometimes in a derating. So that's definitely a thing.
And the whole Tesla network has been built on these shorter cables that can be air cooled and easier to navigate. But that's one made a headache for Lightning drivers. And otherwise, with weird charge point locations on a pull up charging spot where Tesla just backs in and it's right there. The location of the port is one factor to consider, but then also the cable length and the amperage that the cable allows. It's one of those things that when you deal with some of the other units like the Alpatronics and stuff like that, I mean they're bigger liquid cooled cables that are designed to supply better. And so even if you're charging a Tesla Cybertruck, you could probably get a better charge curve experience on Kempower unit, an Alpatronic unit, some of those units that are designed for 400 kilowatts with those higher amperage cables. Yeah. Because Tesla built their cables to be more along the lines of the charge curve, I think, of the Model Y and some of those smaller vehicles. The Cybertruck does fine, I think, on the B. Is it 4 or 5 now? The 4 is fine. It's like the 3.0 or whatever that's coming out or whatever. But those newer ones will have higher charging speed capabilities that a lot of the current vehicles can't use. But a Cybertruck, or if you're driving a Chevy Silverado or something like that, and you're trying to pull up and use that adapter, you're going to be underwhelmed by the performance of supercharger, especially with a long-term charge curve, because those cables aren't meant to deal with massive power delivery for long periods of time.
And I think that whole part of being disappointed in your charge curve happened for us when we took the Silverado to Kempower and it got 20 some minutes way above 360. At that point, you're getting so much range in such a small amount of time that kind of ruins it for you if you're only getting 160. Because in this case, I would go where I know I'm going to get that much charge before I would sit and waste double the time. And we've actually heard from a couple people that have EVs that's told us the same thing. If I could stop and know that I'm only waiting 20 minutes instead of 40 minutes, I'm going to stop at the 20 minute. And I think that goes back to the whole part of future proofing and how we're looking at this. The other way is fine too. We're not saying that you have to do what we're doing, but I really do think that that's going to be the other thing too, is we don't know what our systems are going to charge a Tesla like. And I think that's going to be very interesting. And that might be something that we ask, that we can ask, because there's a lot of chargers or a lot of Teslas that use the system at Kempower. I would like to know what that charge curve is compared to what a Tesla would be, because
Sergio, whenever whenever the time comes, you're going to bring your whole entire garage of vehicles down to our test them all individually, so that way we can we can see the different charge curves on
test
each
the
one.
40 cars he's got.
No, but I think that the charge curve conversation is one that we've had with a couple different industry leaders, and I agree that the current market today is not in gigantic need of these super mega chargers. But if you look at the charger of tomorrow, that is, like Jesse said, future proof, the charge curve is going to increase over time. And these 800-volt vehicles are going to come online more and become more widely available. And the lagging infrastructure providers that are factoring in for 150 kilowatt delivered sessions, it's sufficient for today with the Lightning. That almost hits the full curve, or 200 kilowatts if you want to be a little higher. But with the future of charging to get those people on the road, I think Mark mentioned it on the live stream that was done on last Thursday night. But he's done a bunch of, he gets that boost and then goes to the next charging station. But if your boost is 20 minutes at 380 kilowatts on a vehicle, and you go from, let's say for 15 minutes, you go from 10 to 60%. You get back on the road and you can go another 250 miles on one of those bigger battery packs. Then you just get a bunch of 10-minute charging sessions in and be fine. You don't necessarily have to experience the charge curve start to derate. It may not make sense to go all the way up to 80% on a road trip in that situation with how fast that boost is. And so it might change drivers' habits depending on how they what the charging infrastructure is available to be. But that's where, when we're building our stations and using, federal dollars or state dollars, depending on how the allocations come about, or private investment, you want to make sure that you're providing infrastructure that future proofs through the future of the industry, and not what's the last 5 years of history, because that definitely doesn't validate it. But I know if I pull up a Silverado to a 100 kilowatt or 150 kilowatt station, I'm going to be frustrated that I have to spend 3 times as long at that charger because it doesn't deliver the power that I want. And yes, Silverado, Cadillac, and some of those other ones are limited market entries, but Cybertruck and Rivian and all these newer vehicles that can take these higher charge curves, you want to have your infrastructure available to deliver that power that's required to the vehicle to get them back on the road as quick as possible.
First world problems.
I think you're dead on that, though, man, because I love what you guys are doing, putting in the better, higher power stuff. I love what Alpatronic does. I love what Kempower does. Both of them are coming out also with megawatt charging, and hopefully we'll get to see them at ACT Expo and see their stuff like we did last year. We saw Kempower's megawatt, but haven't seen Alpatronic's yet. Tesla talked about their megawatt charging that's going to be used for both Tesla Semi and eventually with their version 4 cabinets. Right now there's just the version 4 dispensers, but these, to your point, they've had like the version 3.5 or whatever they call it, and it gives that it's crazy 900 amps to the Cybertruck. There's still 400 volts though. It's still split pack, and it's still like, that's just tremendous heat and energy, and it's doesn't hold that charge curve very long. Yes, it can touch it, but man, it's not the ideal. But when they do their megawatt, charging, when you've got actually 1,000 volts there, that's going to be huge for Silverado, for the EGMPs, for the Taycan, for the Cybertruck. That'll be a huge deal. And I do think people will lean towards that, and the market will do that. So if you're out there spending time kind of getting the 150s, I just think you're cutting yourself and your ultimate customer base a little bit short on that. I think
it's fine for obviously the next 3 to 5 years, but if you're looking at long-standing investments, I think that very rapidly it's going to be one of those things where we said it 2 years ago. CCS was fading, and NACS was going to be the new thing. And the government's take was, let's push CCS. But our take from the beginning was you always had to have NACS. We've never altered from having a dual setup with NACS and CCS, because that's, one, Tesla's 80% of the road. And yes, they like to use their own network, but in rural communities, there is no Tesla network. So if you're going to be the charging station provider, you don't want to eliminate the ability to charge a Tesla without an adapter. Just like I don't want to have an adapter to charge at a Tesla station. I'd love to plug straight in and not have to deal with all of these different setups that we just talked about with the button clicks and how to get the systems to cooperate. it's one of those things that if you think about the future of the industry, you have to have NACS in every port, moving forward. And I think most of them are now considering that. But secondarily, I think that you have to look at least having the ability to ramp up to higher powered solutions, because the charge curve of the future is American convenience, and American convenience traditionally wins. And I think in the rank of American convenience, one of the biggest hesitations to EVs is, well, I don't want to stop for 45 minutes, on my road trip. And I don't care, because but like I said, I tell this people all the time. By the time you use the restroom and grab a snack, you're ready to go. But if that time really does matter, and you could take it from 45 minutes to 15 or 20, then that the American convenience is what's going to help improve adoption. And as 800-volt architecture becomes more widespread in Ford's new lineup, and all the current ones that offer it, you'll see that those chargers will end up becoming superior, and the ones that I think that don't provide those high levels will end up fading on utilization. They'll start trickling down as the ones that have higher charge speeds, come online.
Yep, for sure. Little shout out to our friends at Mach-E Vlog. They've got themselves a video out for the 140,000 adapters. So make sure you check that out. I know I'll be checking that out later. After you've watched Turn Down for What, of course, go see our friends at Mach-E Vlog. And then also Tom Malogny also did one. I'll bring his up real quick here. So it's just cool that these guys have already got their content out there. One day I will get faster and be able to do that. Look, they got the thumbnails, they got the adapters. Look at Tom, man. He's got that awesome garage. That's the dream garage. Shout out to Tom for that. So yeah, and then it's funny, there's shout out to Kim Power, by the way. Right there in the back, you see the little Kim Power from when I did the visit out there with them. And then my garage is in the background. It's not nearly as cool as Tom's, where I've got my power wall and that stuff. So one day I'll have a better garage that I can make videos and thumbnails in. But yeah, I think the last thing to share, we'll leave a link to this somewhere in the description, and I'll probably see if I can forward it on X. But there's a cool video that Ford also put out, and it shows the testing of the Electron adapter. We won't show the whole video, but this basically shows them going through and durability testing this thing. So what a cool video this was to watch. It's just a quick little 2-minute video, and they go through and show a lot of what they've done to test this thing. Got some Ben Westby type weather here in the snow. Shout out, Ben.
Honestly, filming that, if we're being transparent. I mean, Ford's filmed him up one side down. This bub took him out to his farm and filmed that segment.
Yeah,
there.
that'd be awesome if they had him doing these videos. But yeah, they run over it.
Appreciated is watching Ford's built Ford tough videos, and when they first came out with the Lightning, they were taking it up to Alaska or wherever they took it, and were sliding in the ice with it and looking at performance. But I think Ford does that very well. I'm sure all the OEMs have that consideration, but putting these things under the test where you're actually putting 10,000, 15,000 pounds in the back of a truck and hauling it through the middle of the tundra, and you see some of the other vehicles the Tesla's done. I saw Tesla release a video where they did that with the new semi, where they were taking it through the desert and up in the mountains. And it's really important to do that rigorous testing like Ford's doing with their adapter, because the real world use cases are so various that a traditional happy sunny day in California where you're plugging up your EV is not the same experience as how does an EV perform in negative 20 degrees, and what's the charging like, and are you going to brick your truck, like will it be able to start, and all those different elements that you're seeing. It really does matter whether that's the hardware that charges it or the vehicle or the technology related. So that those technologies making that adapter specifically very tough is important, because it's it just sits in my console and it bangs up all over the place while I go from stop to stop.
Yeah, I think it's super cool to see them doing that kind of rigorous testing, and it shows why they, partnered with Electron to make some little adjustments and other things to the adapter. So it's just really great to see all that happen. The kind of pivot time, I guess, here mid-show, we'll let's talk a little bit about the other Ford news. And they had an update now with Apple CarPlay, and I'm super excited about this because when I took and switched recently, I used to have Android Auto, and Android Auto they came out with route planning that went to Tesla, and it preconditions the battery and all this other great stuff. And of course, the moment I switch over to Apple, that happens, and Apple didn't have it. So Apple was the first to integrate with the BMS and show you your charging state of charge. It showed you your estimated charge at arrival, but it did not have the route planning, and it made me just crazy. So here, and it's cool. They've even on the example navigation, it's here in the Bay Area. It's got right here, San Jose and Salinas and all that. So that was kind of cool to see that on theirs. But what I did was I just really quickly went and got some screenshots to kind of show people how to make sure you had your truck or a Mach-E into Apple CarPlay. And then I also showed how you can find the charging either on the phone through Apple Maps or also on the truck screen. And there are some things that work really well, and there are some things that don't quite work as well as I would like. But either way, it's a huge improvement. We've talked before about a better route planner. That's kind of what I have been trying to plan my upcoming trip here for spring break. We're going to go to Arizona, then the Grand Canyon, circle back around, and then we're going to meet up with you guys down in Southern California for ACT Expo. So if anybody's down in that ACT Expo area, look for us, and you will see us there. So lots of travel ahead, and I'd rather not have to use an OBD2 port and a bunch of other apps if I don't have to. I mean, a better route planner does have some great features that this lacks, but I did kind of want to share kind of what I ran into here. And so we'll kind of go through together. We'll kind of start off here. When you bring up Apple Maps, this is assuming you don't yet have your Mach-E or your truck in Apple Maps as an EV. So first thing, you have to be in the Mach-E or in the truck to do it. If you're doing this just on your couch, it won't recognize that you have an EV, and it's not going to give you the option for the vehicle. So for the first time setup, you need to have your vehicle on and allowing it to through CarPlay synchronize with your BMS and your truck or your Mach-E and recognize that it's there. So that's what you're going to see here is as we start out, I go and you'll see that vehicles appears right there. And then you're going to connect, in my case, the F-150 Lightning. It would say Mach-E if you were in the Mach-E. And then here you're going to connect for EV trips and route planning. I share my vehicle data. Some people don't. You have the ability not to share it. So this is where it gets a little bit of a choice, right? Select your preferred networks. So it lists all the different networks in the Blue Oval network, which is a ton of them. You can see all of them here. Now for me, because we've talked about, I have a little bit of the PTSD from my experience with others. I scroll down and I selected just the Tesla Supercharger, and that's the only thing that I selected. Some people might be worried, well, what if I need to use other chargers? I'll show you that that's not a problem. But if you prefer the Tesla Supercharger network, that's kind of the way you go about it, and that's what I did there. And then it shows me my state of charge. Now, this is an important thing, right? You'll see here that it's showing me at 51%. This is one of the drawbacks of the navigation is that it doesn't have any way to manually override that if you're going to do route planning. It doesn't have any way to say, hey, if I'm putting this in and I'm doing route planning for the future where I'm going to have 100% state of charge because I'm leaving the house, there's no way for it to know that or to think about that or consider that. So, and then down here, just a quick shout out. It does say plug type J1772 CCS1. This is talking about the plug type for your vehicle. So don't worry that if you click on that, you don't see NACS or NACS adapter. That's not what this is for. This is just saying that the F-150 Lightning has those plug types. And in the future, if they were to have NACS support on a future model, I assume there would be a drop-down menu that gave you that option as well. So anyway, moving on, the truck is now connected. And we'll kind of proceed here to show you route planning on the phone itself. Here we go. So this shows the Bay Area, and you'll see here that when I go and search, this is, for example, I'm going to the Quality Inn in Needles, California. This is the route plan that I've been doing on a Better Route Planner, and I wanted to see how it would compare. It
known
comes
for
up.
the quality too.
What's that?
They're
the
known
quality.
For the quality.
They are at the end. They are known for their quality. So you can see here, it does in fact do what I preferred. It listed all Tesla Supercharging, and again, don't worry if you don't want to limit yourself to Tesla Supercharging. You don't have to. There are ways to select the whole network. So you'll see here that what I'll do is I'll scroll over where it says Tesla Supercharger, where it says all networks there. You can simply change that and replan it using all the networks. But what I find is that when I'm traveling, I'm going to buy the membership plan. And if I'm buying the membership plan, I really want to, you can do the same thing with Electrify America, right? If you wanted to have all of your stuff be Electrify America to take advantage of those rates, you could do that. But in my case, again, I'm going to go with the superchargers. So it's going to give out the route plan. And in this case, you'll see I'll zoom in here. And this is going to send me south through San Jose, which personally I don't want to do. Now, this is going to have me down in Gilroy, famous for the garlic down here in California. And it's going to route me over to the world famous Harris Ranch, one of my favorite places to stop. I often stop there with the family and grab either breakfast or lunch on a road trip. So it's routing the way I'd want it to. Then it's going to send me down into Bakersfield after this. And you can see you can click on the charger and it'll tell you some of the stats and some of the amenities that are available at that charger. So it's going to send me down to Bakersfield where there's a charger, and then it's going to kick me over to Mojave, which is right there. Then it's going to kick me over to Barstow, again, another great supercharger. That's also where you would go if you're going to go to Vegas. So these are all the right stops. This is routing exactly the way I would want it to. And then finally, I end up there at Needles at the Quality Inn. But I never go south. I never want to travel through San Jose. It's a much longer drive. You can see that's almost a 12-hour drive. And so in this case, I'm like, well, what if I want to go north? So I'm going to click on that first supercharger and I can scroll through and I can change it. Now, I wish it was on the screen. I wish I could just tap a screen and see the charger I wanted to go to and go there, but it doesn't let you do it. So I manually changed it to one that was going to send me north, and it recalculated. And now you'll see when I zoom in right there in Pleasanton is a supercharger there right along my route. And that is the way that I would definitely go. This is going to send me south, but now here's the problem. It's recalculated, and it's no longer sending me to Harris Ranch where I want to go. It's now sending me to a different supercharger. And that's not one that I use. It doesn't have the amenities that I like. And so this is where, again, I wish I could just tap on that and change it back to Harris Ranch. It doesn't know what my truck can do. It doesn't know my range as well. So here you can see I'm just going to try to add manually the Tesla Supercharger at Harris Ranch. And what I would love it to do is to recalculate and get rid of that other stop, but it doesn't. And you can see here that I can move it. And even when I move it there, it doesn't keep it. It doesn't save it. It still maintains that other charge stop that I don't need. And especially if I'm leaving the house at 100%, I'm definitely not going to need it. And so that's one kind of drawback. You can still see it has both of those, and I can't remove it. So you can remove a stop that you have manually added, but you can't remove a stop that it is suggesting. Not that I have found, at least. Maybe others will discover a way to do it. But now it's got 6 stops when I don't need it. And it kind of isn't ideal. But for the average person, you can see here that I can delete the charge stop that I added, but I can't delete the other ones no matter what I do. And again, when I try to reorder it, it doesn't stay in the order that I want. It doesn't force it to do what I'm trying to get it to do. But for the average person that's route planning, isn't going to overthink it like I am. This is going to work great. It's going to work absolutely fantastic. So next example, I wanted to show you guys here. What I did was then I went to a charge stop that was further just because I know the chargers. And instead of charging in Pleasanton, I decided to charge in Patterson, which is much further away. And the moment that I did that, then it kept the Harris Ranch supercharger that I wanted. So it just thinks that I'm going to run out of charge sooner than I am. And I think we've seen that before with Apple CarPlay. It's a bit conservative and it's not giving you the full benefit. You can't set in here. You can't set in here like you can with a better route planner and say, I want to arrive with 5%. And it's so again, nitpicking at that point. Again, it's such a huge improvement over not having it at all. And this is much more similar to Android Auto and what they're doing. One drawback I will say is it doesn't precondition. So now in California, that's not a problem for me. And during a lot of the year, it's not a problem for folks. But, in the cold where you guys are and up north and our Canadian friends, it can be an issue. I did want to show you also, I'm going to do this here with the quality in. We're going to see that again. We're going to hit that route. I was just trying to go through a couple different scenarios here. This is where I plan it for the future. So I want to leave Friday morning. So I change it to Friday. I go Friday a.m. I say I want to go Friday 8 a.m. And this is one thing that I hope that they fix, because at this point, it's assuming that on Friday, I'm going to have the same state of charge that I have right now at the moment that I'm doing it.
Ford's Nav used to have that before they dropped it on the app. Like, I think the route planner that they had on the app allowed you to set the estimated state of charge when you departed. I don't see it on the app anymore, but that should be technology that you should be able to estimate. I think like the control features, which shouldn't be overly difficult, is estimated state of charge to start and desired range to finish. Like, what's your margin? 20 miles, 10 miles, what or percent? What's that margin? And then let it do the calculations based on that. Because like you said, one of my biggest grievances with the mapping softwares, all of them, including Apple Maps, is they want me to stop quicker than I need to stop. Like, I knew I could get home, and I got home with 15% state of charge, but it kept forcing me off of an exit. And I'm like, just stop. Like, I usually would go into Apple Maps and say I'm in a different vehicle than my F-150 Lightning, so that way it doesn't sit there and tell me to stop when I don't want to stop.
Says the man whose truck died on the side of the road and we barely got to the charger.
Touche.
That one, I knew the math would be really close, but it got closer due to wind variables that I was.
Wind, and the Borealis effect of the curvature of the Earth.
60-mile-an-hour winds, and I told that story a little bit last week, but it was the most puckered I've ever gotten in my truck in the entire experience.
Yeah, we should stop in Knoxville, but we won't get into it.
But I got off the exit and pushed the accelerator, and nothing happened. It wouldn't go more than 5 miles an hour. That's how dead I was. And we still had like a quarter mile to get up the hill into the Buc-ee's Charger. And so I was like using regenerative braking to slide into the stoplight. And then it gave me enough energy to get up the hill, and then it stopped. And I couldn't go over 5 miles an hour until I pulled into the Charger. I was that dead. It was awesome. It was great. I loved it.
About that dead on multiple levels if we had to call and get somebody to pull us to the Charger. But anyway.
Well, it does. You can see on the screen when I was doing this last night, it did have a high wind warning. So I think that is part of also why it didn't think that I could make it to Harris Ranch, is I think the wind, it was calculating that I wouldn't be able to make it. So again, for the average user, first time EV owner, my neighbor, Betty, this is the type of stuff that I think it's fine to be conservative, but I would love to have the flexibility or, the control in an advanced screen somewhere to kind of modify that, to be able to say, I want to arrive at my destination with 10% and my charger at 5% and all those kind of things that Better Route Planner does really well. Here you can.
The two things that could be improved is, one, the ability to control the functions, but then over time, and I think it's going to come, it's just a matter of when, using AI analytics of your driving habits, like let your vehicle report the data to Apple, and then let Apple sit there and say, like, based on your driving habits, based on your former experience on highway speeds and on whatever, like it understands how you drive based on those metrics and then applies that to your routing. Because if that could be in the case and it actually says like you will not make this, then that's where like it actually helps you feel confidence in the software rather than just some sort of algorithm saying generic numbers on how if you drove the speed limit the whole way there, this is your route plan to get there. It's like, no, I need real life variables that factor into from A to Z.
Yeah, and with AI, you would think that would be something that is absolutely doable.
It is.
Yeah.
Just a matter of time. I think it's going to come out within the next 5 years. But I mean, that's for me to use software like that. I would love for it to actually be precise, and then for it to give you the modularity of selecting. Like one time, the software was stopping me off at a 100 kilowatt charger. I'm like, no, take me to the fast. Like make it to where it's only giving me charges that will give me max charge speed. But then also this needs to look at available ports. And if the charger gets full as you approach, it's going to pivot and change your plan or notify you, hey, this charger's full. Do you want to change to X? And so some of those like plug share type data is going to integrate in. And so there's all these different metrics that will eventually play into that EV driver experience. But this is, it's a huge addition to have the Tesla network. And I think you maybe need to show the rest of your, did you show the full process of adding the Tesla? Because I just went and added it on mine as an existing vehicle, and it was a few steps as an Apple Maps user. If you've already set it up, you'll go into the you'll swipe from the bottom of your maps, and then you'll select your face icon. And then when you get to your face icon, you can barely see it. Then you'll go down to the vehicles in the list, and then you'll select the Lightning, and then you'll hit add network. And then when you add network, then that's when you can select it. So I have EVgo, ChargePoint, Electrify America, Shell Recharge, and then I added Tesla Supercharger. So
you might be able to show that. I took the other one off the screen. So
you need to go back in and you just go to your vehicle, select the Lightning, and then add that network if you want it to factor into your Apple Maps.
Yep.
This is applicable for me through tomorrow because I will likely be Android so effective tomorrow.
And Android Auto has a great system as well. In fact, it has the preconditioning. It's going to be similar. I do wish that we could select here on the physical screen itself. I want the charger closest to the freeway. I want to delete this one, add this one. There is a way I'll show you here in a moment when you're on the screen itself that you can delete a charge, but then you can't select the one that you want. It's going to auto suggest one. So I'll show you guys that in a second here. We'll just kind of wrap up the phone. This is all phone screen stuff. None of this is in the truck yet. So you can see here it's suggesting 2 different routes, and you can see that difference where if it was going south to San Jose, it was going to be an hour longer. So it knows to recommend the northern route. So yeah, that was something. Denver, I put this in here. Also, I wanted to show you an example of what would happen if you did a route that didn't have enough Tesla charging the whole way. Because some people might say, well, hey, look, I don't want to only use Tesla and not have stops. So here you can see it put in Electrify America. There's another couple Electrify Americas. There's a charge point in there. So just because you select Tesla Supercharger as the preferred network, it will incorporate the other ones if there isn't a Tesla Supercharger available. So you don't have to worry that if I only hit Tesla, I'll miss out on the other routes if Tesla is not available. So it's smart enough to know that. So then I popped into the truck just to get some video of that, of course, as everyone should. You can see listening to Turn Down for What, our last podcast episode right there.
What a dude.
So here you can see again the kind of the map of the Bay Area. You can see that as I'm going to hit the search function and I hit charging stations, it's going to show me all the different Tesla Superchargers around me now. And as I scroll through, it's going to continue to expand the view and show me more and more Tesla Superchargers. Now, again, you've got to select from the list. I wish you could just tap on the screen and say, take me there, or zoom in, but you can't. You can see I'm tapping here. Tapping doesn't do anything. If I try to pinch or expand or do anything with that, it doesn't do that. But if you go to the list, there you can see it's going to give you your route options and let you get to whatever Tesla Supercharger you like. So you do still have to do it from a list, but that's, again, such a huge improvement. Destinations is going to show you your recent searches. So there you can see the Denver and the Quality Inn and the things that I just searched, and it will pull up just like it did on your phone. It's giving me the same 5 stops. It's giving me the same route down through Gilroy to the south, exactly like it did on the phone. So I can then go to, I can share the ETA to somebody and let them know my timing so they can track it as I'm going. And then if I click here, you can see I'm going to do, hold on here, when the video progresses. Now I forgot what I recorded on this part. So if I go back to destinations and go back to Quality Inn, a little bit slow there. Sorry. I should have recorded that faster. But this time, right, I'm fired. I'm done. You see, I can't touch on this. I can't expand. I can't see my route plan. I can't expand or pinch. These are all the things on the screen. If I hit the plus sign, it goes to my destination. But again, I can't look around it. I can't make any other selections. So I would love to see that improve.
And within the device, you have the capability of changing the charging stops, or once you're in the system, you can't actually modify it the same way you can on the phone.
Yeah, there's no way to modify it like you can on the phone. All you can do is kind of delete. So I think here, let me see if this is the screenshot where I show the deleting. So here I can add a stop, right? But again, if I touch any of these, and it cuts it all off, right? So it says Tesla Supercharger, but Tesla Supercharger where? It gives me all my ETAs, but I can't tell if that's Harris Ranch, if that's Gilroy, if that's Kettleman City. Like, it doesn't give me any detail because it just says Tesla Supercharger and cuts off the name. So I have no idea which Tesla Supercharger I'm looking at. Again, I can't edit it, but you'll see if I touch the Supercharger here, if I double tap, it disappears. You see that? So I deleted that stop and it added one in sooner. So it moved me to a different supercharger. So you can tap and remove, and then you can tap here and add a stop. And it's going to, but again, I can't tell what I just added, right? I just added that supercharger. I deleted the other one, but because the name cuts off, it just says supercharger. I don't know that I deleted or added or whatever. But then you go to charging stations and you can kind of add in another stop if you like. So you can scroll through and you can see all the ones that are going to pop up. And again, I wish I could just touch the screen and just say go there, which is something that Tesla allows you to do. Hopefully, eventually, some of the other route planners will catch up to that. Maybe that's just me. Like, chat in the comments, tell me if you just like the list, if the list is just fine for you. I'm very visual. I'm very pop-up book oriented. I like
it needs to be more intuitive. It's just, I mean, this is a rudimentary start to what that technology needs to be. At a minimum, it needs to tell you where the addresses of your stop are visible. You can't click and see where. It just says Tesla Supercharger. You don't know where and when and what time. To give you an ETA and half of the name, it needs to be able to be expanded and then propose changes. I mean, this is where the functionality to the user, you may never use it. You might just accept what they tell you to do. But, like in Google Maps, when I'm routing something, you can drag the route with your mouse or your finger, and it will change based on, like, I just drag it up the interstate, and it's going to say, okay, now I'm going to take this route. There needs to be that level of functionality where you can do what's recommended, or if you want to take an alternate route based on your knowledge or experience or preference,
absolutely,
you can say, I want to go this way. And it's much simpler than, this is clunky. It's in there. You have Tesla stops, and now you can route it. But for me, that's not convincing enough to rely on it as my sole provider for routing.
Yep. No, I totally agree. So you can add a stop there. You can see I added another stop just for the heck of it, and it did, let me add a stop, and it shows you the address when you're scrolling through to add a stop. But now that I've added it, again, I can't see the details. I can delete it, but I can only delete the one that I've added, just like before. So again, so much better. It's a first step, and it was a much needed step. And I'll kind of show you here. Let me see what this next one is. I think I'm going to show the Denver one here. So you click on Denver. It's going to show you the same 15 stops. And it's going to show you the same thing where you can see that it's Electrify America, and you can see that it's Tesla charging. Come on, man, go a little bit faster. There you go. So you see when I scroll through there's the Electrify America. Again, it doesn't give you an address, doesn't let you edit, doesn't let you see any details. There's the charge point, a couple more Electrify Americas. So again, even though I've selected Tesla as my preferred charger, I can't get any details when I click. And you can see it turns color, right? You'd almost think you could, but nothing I saw. Maybe that's a future addition, a future feature. But nothing I saw would let me see any added details or anything. So, but compared to the old style of routing, this is such a huge improvement. I'm trying to decide if I might use the A Better Route Planner as a backup and try this for my trip now that it is a possibility. It's a huge benefit to just be able to use the CarPlay screen and be able to have your podcast window open and be able to see your calendar and not have to go to a separate screen or a separate app for it.
A charging stop was added to reach your destination.
Oh, got the audio there. So let's see if it'll kind of progress here. This is the old system. And so this is the way I used to have to do it. And you can see that this lists all of the saved Tesla Superchargers because you had to save them as favorites, basically, because it wouldn't search and find them. You could find them using the public charging app that's in the truck. But all of those points there that you see are all the Southern California places that I would go to, both down 5 and over to Vegas and down to San Diego to Legoland and then back up the coast again. And so I could, I've done enough trips now to Southern California that I could pretty much, using the native navigation, navigate to any of those destinations. But again, it was, not ideal to say the least in the old system. So huge improvement.
I mean, Martin mentioned, I think last week as well, Ford Nav needs to step up. And I think you guys talked about it in the live stream, but Ford Nav needs to do what Apple's done, where I like the flexibility where it's going to show you your estimated range as you charge and it expands. That's kind of a cool thing that it does to show you your range. And but the Ford Nav system, from my experience, has been the same way, where it lacks on a lot of different features to make it something that I want to comfortably use. I love using Google Maps and Apple Maps for routing and, just for getting from A to B. But most of the times when it comes to route planning, I'm using my own knowledge and intuition based on the route, or if it's a longer distance, I'm just pulling up PlugShare, looking at chargers that I want to stop at. And then I'm just routing from here to there and not looking at the other variables, because these systems are coming. But Ford Nav needs the same type of improvements where the Tesla network's automatically recommended, one, and two, the range and some of the other features are a little bit easier to navigate.
Yeah. So I think that kind of wraps up what I have, guys. I mean, hopefully you guys have benefited from getting to see this in the audience, and we'll get this live version posted up on the YouTube page. I'll throw some links in there for the video of the adapter kind of testing that they did. I'll also throw, just for the fun of it, I'll throw a couple links to the very first time that Sergio and I went and got our adapters a year ago. I thought that was a really cool kind of day with Sergio, and I'll kind of pop that up there real quick. And this is right here with Sergio. We're charging the Mach-E and the Lightning. We've been doing it for about 15 minutes now, so we're going to walk over and just see how it's doing. So yeah, we'll kind of throw that up there with Sergio and myself, and we'll throw that year-long flashback and kind of show you guys. I have an unboxing video of the charger, the adapter, the original one, and then the first charging experience with Sergio. So we'll throw that in the description somewhere. I'll go back in after it's posted and add those if anybody wants to see them. And it's also funny because that's like the early days of like starting to put stuff onto YouTube, and then everything's the vertical orientation. I didn't go portrait yet, and still trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing, but just to see how far the channel has even come. And I wasn't podcasting or any of that kind of stuff with you guys. I don't even know if I knew you guys at that point. Maybe we had just started, actually. I think we had just started. It was a year aago, so we had just started. So we did some episodes, actually. I take that back.
Now, since it was December of 2023 that you joined. So
yeah,
I mean, you've been with us now for over a year.
You're right.
Yeah, by this point, I was no longer with where I was at either. We were focusing strictly on our sites that we had been awarded and moving on with it. So yeah, it's been more than a year now.
So love sharing this stuff, man. It sure is fun to just put it out there and have people watch and hopefully learn some stuff and answer some questions. And then we learn a lot of stuff because we'll post things that we don't have. Like in this case, this is everything I could learn last night, basically on the fly, poking around. I'm sure there'll be some more in-depth videos. Some other people can throw in the comments some different things that they've learned that I don't realize. Or we're going to try to get Robert on the live show probably next week. That's with Ford, and he's just done a ton of travel and like 4,000 miles that he just did. So shout out Robert from Ford. We're going to try to get him on the live one with Jason Martin and kind of get some live questions going and just kind of see what his trips have been like. He's had a Mach-E and he has a Lightning now. So that'll be a lot of fun to talk. It'll give us some time to learn a bit about it and see what's out there. And I'm sure there'll be some videos to come. I know Mach-E Vlog is going to make a video comparing the Apple and the Android automotive, or Android Auto, I should say. I keep saying automotive. So that'll be a cool video I'm looking forward to. But yeah, we'll just continue the conversation, guys. And I think it's cool to see this stuff. And great day for Ford all the way around with 140,000 adapters delivered, new Tesla support for CarPlay. Like, I love seeing this. Definitely much needed.
Here's my question, just as a random: is this limited strictly to Ford, or is it opened up like for a GMC driver? Can they go into the app and add Tesla to their network? Because this is Apple CarPlay. Was it strictly to Ford's network? Like if you plugged into Ford Lightning, then it works, or is this opened up to all vehicles?
It's a good question. I am 90% sure it's all vehicles, but not all vehicles will integrate with the BMS and give you your, estimated time of arrival. So that's where I have a question mark. I'm not sure. Like if it integrates with the BMS, that makes sense.
Any of those vehicles, comment below. Let us know, because I mean,
Yeah.
Ford I think has one of the larger non-Tesla bases on that front. But I'm curious, some of those other vehicles, if that's now functioning in your CarPlay. I mean, because Ford got to market that yesterday as being part of the add-on. But if it's Apple CarPlay that updated its systems for that use case, maybe it is the same use case for GMC and Cadillac and some of the other EVs, Nissan or whatever. In that space. So just if you happen to know that, comment below, because like I said, this is new. This happened yesterday. So we are we're coming to you with the data that we know, and we're finding out more as we progress. But we all drive Ford, so we don't have the luxury of giving you an outsider's perspective on that. So
let us know.
Once again, if you're listening with your 400 cars, test them all and let us know what you got. So
all right, well that does it for this episode, guys. I appreciate you letting me show all the cool stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Lots of fun. More EV news and updates to come. If you're going to the EV Expo in Vegas at the end of this month, drop a comment. I will be there for that event, but then all three of us will be at the ACT Expo coming up here at the end of April. So feel free to catch up with us there. There's thousands and thousands of people there, and lots of fun things to do and people to meet. But if you're going to be there, let us know. We'll be happy to connect there. But for now, that's all for this episode of Turn Down for What. Tune in Thursday night for a live episode, and next, I guess, subscribe for ongoing EV news and updates. So it's been a pleasure as always, and we will catch you on the flippity flip.
Thanks, guys. Thanks
for tuning in to Turn Down for What. Make sure you're subscribed with your notifications on to tune in to more EV news and updates. See you next time.